This current news brief is brought to you by City Auto Plaza. Make City Auto Plaza your first stop and give us the opportunity to earn your business. City Auto Plaza, your hometown dealer.
Next request comes from Vernon Thompson regarding the Chief of Police.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Vernon Thompson, 23 Eagle Crest Drive in Cañon City. I too am concerned about what I'm seeing going on here. I have been sent into situations where I had to go in, transferred from one coast to the other, try to straighten up an area. But I was given the authority as a regional manager over 16 profit centers in the state of California that if I had to fire every manager, I had the right to do so. What I'm trying to say is one of the worst things you can do is give a man a responsibility and not give him the authority to get it done. I believe this man came here. I was on the police department for 3 years in Amarillo, Texas. We had a very professional police department. Fact is, it was so professional that the Federal Bureau of Investigation used our department as a model police department for other police departments across the nation. So it was very professional. I was used to professionalism. Okay, this chief, McNeill, came from a department not far from where I was from. I believe it was Austin. And as I've heard reported, the number of men that were on that department, obviously the man, he was fairly high up. Obviously he wasn't a schlock officer. Obviously whoever hired him here saw something in him that they thought was good and that he could handle the job. My concern is that he has tried to bring professionalism here and he's run into the good old boy system. My concern is we've elected a new council here, so to speak, and a new mayor. My concern is that hopefully we haven't replaced one good old boy system with another good old boy system. I believe the man needs to be treated fairly. He needs to be given the authority to get the job done. I know that any time that you have to go in and you have to correct somebody, there's hard feelings. What we've got here, and I can verify this through the former chief here that retired from here, he had the same problems. This is many years ago. He fired an officer and the city council tried to get rid of him. Is this an ongoing thing with council? I hope not. I would hope that you would look at this man fairly, because let's face it, probably any of you or myself, one of the police officers stops to give me a ticket, I'm probably ticked off for a while. You know, but the man is just doing his job. And the money that he saved this police department over the years is considerable. And like Ms. Fulton said, the amount of money that he and his wife have put into this community, just trying to make a better community and be a part of it, is a considerable lot of money. So what I'm asking the council to do is to put some confidence in this man. Give him the authority to get the job done. And not be listening to people that because the chief came in and made changes, now they're disgruntled and maybe going to the good old boys to try to railroad a good man. So I represent the Tea Party here. I am with the Royal Boys Tea Party. What I would like to say is we, like Ms. Fulton said, we will be watching this very closely. And I don't want it to sound threatening, but we will be actively involved in the next election if this man is railroaded out of town. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments this evening. We should probably clarify, and maybe the city attorney would like to clarify just so that everybody understands. The city council and mayor elected officials have no hand in personnel policy in our city, and maybe you want to elaborate on that, John?
Let me just say a word or two. Our city charter gives the city council direct responsibility with respect to only 3 employees of the city, and that's the city attorney, the municipal judge, and the city administrator. There's a direct relationship between council and those 3 appointed officers of the city. Every other employee of the city, including but not limited to the chief of police, is hired and fired by the city administrator, and when a decision is made with respect to Chief McNeill, that decision will be made by the interim city administrator and not by the city council. Council is willing to continue listening to all of your comments tonight, but it's the city administrator who will make any decision regarding hiring or firing of Chief McNeill. One other matter that ought to be clarified, and that is that the audit report that was given to Chief McNeill before anybody else outside of the interim city administrator had seen it, was given to the Daily Record in response to a records request appropriately filed at the end of the time the law allows for the withholding of a document of that sort. It's a public record. The Daily Record requested it in the proper manner, and the Daily Record received that document as was the requirement placed upon the city. And thereafter it became very public, and had we had a choice in the matter, we might have come up with a better method, but the law is law and we complied with it.
Our next request comes from Candy Thompson in regards to the chief of police.
Hi, my name is Candy Thompson, and I'm also at 23 Eagle Crest. And I'm just going to add a few comments because most everything that I was going to say has already been said. But whoever is responsible and has input, and whatever these legal guidelines were and everything, they don't evidently prohibit these kind of testimonies that are made public, because when I turned on Channel 5 and KOAA and saw the first headline in that news report that this man was being accused of sexual harassment, had been put on, and that was the first thing that came out of her mouth. This afternoon, Channel 13 came over to talk to us and get maybe another viewpoint or some other information, and we said to begin with, we don't want you repeating this kind of thing on Channel 13 because we don't want to be responsible for spreading that kind of thing all over the state of Colorado. And all of you men know that anybody can yell sexual harassment, and what defense do you have? Very little, because we saw that in the presidential primaries and all that. But to get back to what I'm trying to say, I do want to know that whoever is going to be making these decisions, that whenever this man and all of these complaints are being allowed to have credibility, and all of these complaints and these things that you're listening to in this audit, one of them was actually that he made one traffic stop per minute in 1 hour. How ridiculous. How could anybody have done that?
Yes, really.
And that was in an audit. I mean, maybe you had to put it in there, but that was so ridiculous I couldn't even believe it. Anyway, the next thing is these people that didn't want the discipline, that don't want to upgrade or whatever he was trying to do, if they get their way, the next chief that comes in that you bring in, he's going to have a much harder time. Okay? And that's what's going to happen, because you are going to be giving in to that. Now, let's go through the process as it needs to be and exonerate this man if that's what needs to be done. And stand behind him. Have some backbone, men. Stand behind him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Hi, thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm Marie Bernardsky. I live at 2695 Central Avenue. I read the auditor's report, and I saw that the gentleman seemed very qualified to do the job that he was doing, and there were many perceived problems affecting the department. Among them was lack of work ethic, internal affairs investigations, perceived as unfair by the subject officer and other officers, meddling in police affairs by local politicians, problem employees who have formed cliques, lack of several training programs, etc. Sounds much like the normal work environment, except for meddling. Employees are well known for complaints against their bosses. One remark, however, that Candy mentioned, I thought was just really interesting, is the fact that this man could stop one car a minute for an hour. And I think if you have a man that can do that, you ought not be getting rid of him. In the summary, one thing I noted was a lack of written direction for the police department from the city council and city manager's office to include a list of annual written goals. And I wonder why that is. If that's your all job, why you're not doing it. I also noticed in the audit that from 2009 to 2011, the number of crimes increased by 1,082. Calls for service increased by 5,262. And traffic tickets increased by 386, while the budget decreased from $3,900,130 to $3,510,625, nearly a $400,000 cut. It looks to me more like policing is being done, more policing is being done with less funds. And maybe the budget could be responsible for some of the problems that were mentioned in that audit. If so, perhaps city funds are not being used appropriately to meet the needs of the department. Funds used for projects like closing streets to form parks and other planned projects could perhaps be better used to meet the needs of our police and other important things like road maintenance, things that the city should be taking care of. Perhaps rather than harass our chief over his duties, you all could work toward better meeting his needs and those of your officers. I've talked with the chief on several occasions and he appears to be a dedicated and qualified officer who cares about the community. And with more support from this council, it would be better able to do his job. The auditor said the problems are perceived. In today's Daily Record, Mayor Tony Greer said nothing that was said in the audit was corroborated. And Chief McNeill says that his responses are backed up by fact and called the allegations untrue. Perceived, not corroborated, fact, and then a problem. I'd have to agree that there seems to be a problem, but is it with our chief? The chief's computer was seized and I wonder what it's being searched for, who's conducting the computer search, and who authorized it. This sounds more and more like a witch hunt to me. Reinstate our chief.